You found the skeleton. How would you tell people that you personally? How would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey there YouTube, the Dapper Dinosaur here. This is not a regularly scheduled video. Instead, it's a video of a type I don't normally make. We're going to talk about a creationist, but not really about any of his arguments, in part because he doesn't really have any that aren't better presented by others. This is Donnie, also known as Standing for Truth. One of the best examples that anyone with the word truth in their username is not actually concerned about truth. A bit of background. Donnie's channel is a long-running, live stream-focused creationist channel. His trademark format is either hosting debates or having interminable 4+ hour rant streams whenever his arguments are shown to be inane by someone else. These typically only address the actual topic for about 15 to 45 minutes, and never actually give any substantial response. The basic response he gives is, well, this person says that X is wrong for reasons A, B, C, and D, but have they even considered X? So at this point, you're probably wondering why I'm even making this video. Well, you see, back in 2019, Donnie was on pretty good terms with a number of people in our little corner of YouTube, including myself, Gutsick Gibbon, and Dr. Dan Stern Cardinal. We went on his streams fairly regularly, and he seemed to be a pretty affable guy. And if all you do is watch his videos, that impression would probably be what you take away too, with some exceptions. But as time went by, all three of us, as well as others whose presence in our group of friends is less public, started noting that he was acting a bit oddly. The first thing we saw was his complete refusal to take any of his regular hangers-on to task for inexcusable behavior. I'll give two related examples. These are not the earliest examples, but since they involve me directly, they're the ones I'll use. One of his associates, Matt Nyler, also known as Raw Matt, Mattman, and perhaps most absurdly, Dr. Matt, fraudulently presented a screed of improperly formatted nonsense he had vomited onto Google Docs as a paper that had been published by PLOS, an open-access peer-reviewed journal. He even linked it to a DOI number, although he later deleted the original DOI file, and put the PLOS header on top of the PDF he'd prepared. Of course, I called this out as it is a clear-cut example of academic fraud, and there was no retraction, statement, or anything of the sort from Standing for Truth, or of course Raw Matt. But before the video even came out, another hanger-on, Jason Ezard, also known as Faithful, Honest, and True, again with the truth thing, released this little slur-laden gem.
Dapper dumber. What do you call him? Dapper the stupid. Dapper the dumbest of the dumb. What does he do? Dapper goes out there. He goes out there because Matt's paper disappeared off the net. Then what does he go? He goes out there calling Matt a fraud. Well, Dapper dumber, we've got a few replies to you coming up very shortly. And you're not going to like it very much. That's all I can say. I'm not going to say too much, but you're a dickhead. You're a sucking little loving dickhead. Dick fucking poof the mother. You Dapper, you fucking dog. You're a dog. You're a dog, Dapper. You know what you are? You're a dirty, mangy, smelly little dog that doesn't know how to refute anything scientific. All you can do is do freaking personal attacks on people because you're a dog. A dog. A dog. Do you understand what a dog is? Well, let me give you an idea. Go to the Bible and have a look at when a guy had a go at, King David, and his servant said, King David, do you want me to go over there and remove that dog's head for what he said to you? Well, I'm not saying we should remove your head, but, there's precedence for it in the Bible. You're a dog, Dapper. You're a dog. You're a low-life little fancy little pants little dog. You and your Navy, clear? You were in the Navy, were you? You know what they say about in the Navy? They say this, in the Navy, we covered up the rear. In the Navy, you need to be a queer. Well, were you a queer when you were in the Navy, Dapper? Just wondering. Could you please answer that question? Are you a queer, Dapper? Or have you got a missus? Oh, I'm not sure. I don't really care if you're a queer or not. It doesn't really matter. But I was just wondering, because you never seem to talk about a missus. Well, not that I've seen, not that I watch this stupid channel very much, because the incoherent babble that goes on there is absolutely fucking mind-blowingly stupid beyond belief. It's enough to make someone completely stupid. If you're only partly stupid, if you listen to Dapper, you'll be Dapper the dumbass, you'll be completely stupid. Dapper is the biggest fucking wanker that ever walked the planet. And Dapper, I'm really looking forward to your video in, what was it this morning, 30 hours, 20 hours or 15 hours or something from now. I'm looking forward to it. We're looking forward to seeing it. Because Dapper, you know what, we haven't focused on you yet. But if you want to look like a moron, that's fine. You go into that video, Dapper, you go in there and you make fucking Matt look like a dickhead. You say all the fucking slanderous shit you like about him. Because the simple fact is, you don't know why that paper was rejected. You don't have a clue, do you? Well, I tell you what, mate. There's evidence that those at that peer review never even looked at the paper, never even read it. They probably read the first few lines and saw stuff about creation and went, we don't want that sort of paper here. We're not like... Not even bother to look at. Not even bother to look at the science behind it or the mathematics. Not a freaking skerrick of a worry about the science and mathematics behind it. Just, we don't want to look at that. Well, Dapper, you know what? Quit dog piece of... Not long, Dapper, you're going to look like the biggest quit that ever lived. So you go ahead with your little... I'm just warning you, Dapper. I'm just giving you a warning, mate. You go ahead with your little show, your little fancy little fairy show. You go right ahead and do that. But Dapper, one day, you might sit back and you might think to yourself, maybe I shouldn't do this because there's things that I don't understand. But that's the thing about evolutionists. They don't care whether they understand anything or not. They just make up shit off the top of their head, like Dan Cardinal, lying cockroach. What does he do? He comes on there and he says, this paper is 100% fact. It's got no assumptions in it at all. There's no phylogeny. There's no this. It's all 100% mutation rates. Verifiable, observable mutation rates.
The end bit there was his phone ringing. I reasonably took this as a thinly veiled death threat. Another time there was a bit of a clash involving Stanley not being able to rein in his friends when I was on his channel with Dr. Dan, and Dan couldn't get in more than a few words without the same Jason interrupting him. I lost my temper and stormed out. Now I admit I did not comport myself well at the time, but it still fed into the question of why, if Stanley was, as he presented himself, such a stand-up guy who perhaps disagreed with me, but was willing to be friendly, was he tolerating such things? It was around this time that I became aware that he had started going on what seemed like drunken late-night rants in the form of YouTube comments, emails, etc. These rants were full of blatant sexism, homophobia, and transphobia, directed primarily at people like David Pnuff and Gutsick Gibbon. But he also decided that most of my friends beginning to pull back from going on his channel, and our disinterest in responding to his absurdly long live streams, in which nothing new was said, constituted us, quote, dodging his arguments. Of course, remember that he has no arguments, he just cribs them from better creationists. Now on screen you're seeing a log of screenshots of emails, text chats, thumbnails, and comments of Donnie being rude and or bigoted. Of course, Donnie also periodically sends apologetic emails, always saying that he doesn't want there to be any bad blood or antagonism whatsoever. And this type of two-faced gaslighting behavior is not limited to non-creationists. Sal Cordova and Peter of Paleologos have been the subject of his harassment/apology cycle. He has also decided to anathematize Peter as well as other Christians, such as a YouTuber who goes by the name I Am That I Am, and Smokey Saint. Now, I'm not here to defend everything and everyone in creationist YouTube who isn't on Team Donnie, but I will say that this behavior isn't acceptable. Now, normally I'm not one to give Bible-based advice on this channel, but in regards to Donnie's treatment of his fellow Christians, I think there's a passage that's relevant. It's John 13, 34, and 35. I'm using the KJV, and this is Jesus speaking after washing the apostles' feet after the Last Supper. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another. As I have loved you, that ye also love one another. By this means shall all men know that you are my disciples, if ye have love for one another. Another thing associated with SFT and company was the mocking and celebration surrounding the death of Bill Ludlow. Now, I get that Donnie and friends disagreed deeply with Bill, and so didn't like him. But this was a man who hadn't attacked anyone, who dedicated his life to advancing science and the knowledge of it, and who tragically died. I think you can see how the reactions to this went. Let's remind ourselves. Was Bill convicted of domestic violence? No. Was Bill openly advocating for genocide? No. Was Bill promoting fake cancer cures that are actually poison? No. Was Bill harboring known child abusers on a campground at least in part built for children? No. But this is the vile behavior his death engendered. Of course, now we have to get into the question of Donnie's uncritical hosting of convicted domestic abuser, COVID denier, fake cancer cure promoter, known harborer of at least one child molester, genocide advocate, and cult leader, Kent Hovind. There are some lines that I don't think it's okay to cross and still be treated as a reasonable person. Beating your partner, harboring a child molester, and suggesting that the government should commit genocide are a few of those lines. I want to be clear here. I'm not saying that Donnie has done these things or is complicit in Kent having done them. But that Kent is guilty of these things is not really in any serious doubt. And instead of condemning these things, Donnie simply goes around insulting the Christians who have the decency to point out that these things are not okay, all the while being essentially the only person willing to host Hovind the Elder. I'm not the only one making a video about this today. I have to come clean. There's actually an archive that we've been keeping of Donnie's behavior towards us and our friends, and by we I primarily mean the group that you might know as the Science Friends, or that Donnie has charmingly named Team Dodgeball. Of course, this despite the fact that he's actually been dodging Erica and Dan, the former on any precise and anatomical definition of ape or human that is both objective and actually recovers humans as not apes, while answering whether fossil hominins are humans or apes, and the latter on ever speaking to Dan about genetics on anything. He said he'd go more than once with Dan to talk about genetics, only to back out. He flat out told fellow creationist Rebecca of Bread of Life that he wasn't interested in having a discussion with Dan. Instead, he's just interested in saying Dan is dodging him. Further, this is the type of response he puts out.
The specific question, have we directly observed an ERV that integrates and then acquires a beneficial function in the host? The answer is no. Have we directly observed an ERV that integrates and then acquires a beneficial function in the host? The answer is no.
The answer is no.
That's all! He's down! And it is all over!
No attempt at any argument, just snipping clips out of context and putting in cringy meme content. Some of my fans have at various times asked me when I'm going to address Donnie directly. The fact is I probably won't bother, and let's be honest, I've covered people who are far more vile than he is, especially Kent Hovind and Jordan from Spirit Science. Honestly, the reason I'm not covering him now, nor am I likely to in the foreseeable future, is that there's little point. Donnie doesn't actually have his own positions. Instead, he'll uncritically host mutually contradictory ideas on his channel, like created heterozygosity and the waiting time problem, or hydroplate theory and catastrophic plate tectonics. It's not that his ideas are wrong, it's that he doesn't have ideas. And beyond that, he will never correct anyone on anything as long as they are on his side. I've seen him let Nephilim Free talk uninterrupted for about an hour about the tibula of Australopithecus. Spoiler alert. That's not a real bone, nor is that a real genus. So what's the point of covering anything he does? I can't see what it would be. Although, more than once I've already covered something because it came up on his channel, but rather than cover him talking uncomprehendingly about a subject, I just cover the source he got it from. At least his sources usually have coherent, if laughably incorrect, ideas. And they tend to stick to one idea and argue for it. My partners in crime here, Erica and Dan, are going to have longer videos on this topic, which will be linked as soon as I have links for them. I'm sure each of us will be covering things the other did not, and I'm also quite confident that my video will be the shortest. I think that's actually pretty fitting, because really, Donnie talks more about them than me. So to wrap this all up, Donnie is a two-faced, gaslighting loser who keeps some of the worst company imaginable, while being incredibly vitriolic to crow-religionists who bother to point out how disgusting he is. But I guess then that's what you'd expect when you're so scummy that people joke about how you act like a used car salesman, and it turns out that actually was your job. Alright, well, do all the YouTube things if you want, or don't. This video is not a regular part of the Dapper Dino programming. Either way, I'm the Dapper Dinosaur.